The show starts and we see a boy running away. He was being chased by someone in a panda costume. He rushes and thinks of calling someone. He tries to request help form the game, but it seems he is out of points. Just then he thinks of messaging a friend for his help. He forwards his link to Kanem in hope that he will respond, but it's too late. The boy then decides to take on the panda man himself, but the panda seems to be invisible. The boy fires his weapon, which seems to be a razor, but misses. The panda slashes him and he ends up falling to the ground. In the morning, we see Kanem and one of his friends shows him a weird graffiti that people have been seeing around. The graffiti happens to be the same place where the boy died last night. Kyoto enters and asks if they had seen Hamada, but they had not. Kyoto already knew about the game and thinks that Hamada is dead. He is about to leave when Kanem mentions that he got an invitation from Hamada. Kyoto tries to warn him, but Kanem is curious to try out the game. Although his classmate Kyoto warns him strongly not to open the app, he becomes curious and he accepts the invitation and starts the game. Suddenly a snake jumps out of his screen and bites his neck, which causes him to fall on the ground. Kanem wakes up confused in his school's hospital room, but he dismisses the snake as a hallucination and wants to go home to recover from the shock. Kyoto meets him again and warns him not to open the game app, but Kanem cannot contain his curiosity. On his way back home, he keeps thinking about the game and why Kyoto does not want him to play it. He makes a decision and opens the game once and accepts a combat challenge from Banda-kun. Kanem does think of it much, but in reality Bando-kun was an aggressive man in a panda costume who suddenly appears next to him on the subway. Banda-kun attacks the shocked Kanem, but he manages to fend him off and flees through the city. The panda chases Kanem incessantly and not even a policeman can stop the violent panda. He already saw his tombstone engraved with death by a panda when out of nowhere Kyoto appears and saves Kanem. However, in doing so, Bando-kun injures Kyoto severely. Despite Kyoto's injury, he and Kanem manage to escape and hide in a car park. Kanem now finally realizes that this is no ordinary mobile game. It is a real-life game with no way to escape and the stakes are life or death. Kyoto explains to him why Bando-kun is such a strong opponent. He can make himself invisible through his sigil, an ability each player is given through the bite of the snake, and is then able to master in the most natural way. Kanem and Kyoto soon realize there is no point in hiding from Bando-kun, as their opponent can track Kanem's location through the app. They decide that Kanem must leave the injured Kyoto behind in order to lure the panda away from him. Kanem heads to the bathroom and hides. Banda-kun approaches and uses the cop's gun to fire at him, but Kanem was in the locker and uses a fire extinguisher to fight him. He fights off Banda-kun's attacks in close combat, but eventually doesn't seem to stand a chance against him. However, the fight comes to an abrupt end when Kanem's invisible opponent is suddenly hit by a car, ending the fight in Kanem's favor. Bando-kun's lifeless body is teleported piece by piece, leaving only a pixelated outline on the ground. Kanem is familiar with these pixel outlines. They've been appearing all over the city lately and people have taken them for modern street art. But now Kanem realizes the truth. They are the remains of those who lost the Darwins game. After his fight, Kanem rushes back to his friend Kyoto, but all he finds is just another pixel outline. Kanem can't believe that his friend has gone and sees a last message from him, which was to survive. Later on, Kanem receives some tools as he has now gained new ranks. He vows to find the true purpose of the game and make sure that he can survive till the end. We see a few gang members who are also part of the game who executed some players to gain their area. The man wears a serpent jacket and may be a future threat. Later on, Kanemura receives an invite from high-ranking player Shuka Kirinu, who learns of Kanem's victory over Banda-kun, and is amazed that the rookies win over a strong opponent. She wants to meet Kanem and invites him to an abandoned warehouse, but Shuka isn't sure if she can trust Kanem and asks him to reveal his sigil. However, Kanem can't give her an answer, which arouses Shuka's suspicion, and she challenges him to a fight. Kanem is able to fend off Shuka's attack by temporarily blinding her with a flashing light. But even Shuka's blind attacks are immensely powerful, and Kanem recognizes her sigil. She can control big chains and snake-like motions, piercing her enemies with the sharp tips. While Kanem tries to escape the chains, he hears a voice inside of him, which finally leads him to discover his sigil. He is able to summon any weapon he has ever touched before. A gun that was delivered to his home earlier now suddenly appears in his hand, and he is able to keep Shuka in check with it. He quickly creates a decoy and kills all the lights. Using the darkness, he attacks her head one. Shuka sees no option but to admit her defeat. Kanem lets out a sigh of relief and faints on her chest. Meanwhile, a girl in a chair is sitting and seeing all that was happening with Kanem and thinks that the rookie has some latent talent. The next morning, Kaname wakes up in Shuka's bed, leaving Kanema shocked. She asks him to create a family with her, as joining forces is a popular tactic by many players in Darwin's game, to fight together, defend each other, and collect points together. Kaname agrees, but he learns that he has to get above fighting class B2 first. Kanema tells Shuka since she is A4 she can create a clan and add him, but she tells him that the ideal man would create his own situation. An ideal opportunity to level up presents itself to Kaname shortly thereafter. He receives a mysterious invitation in the game. Some selected players are allowed to participate in a treasure hunt in Shibuya. Kaname and Shuka consider it wise to explore Shibuya before the start of the event. During their tour, Shuka explains important information to Kaname about Darwin's game, or D-game, as they call it in public to keep its existence a secret. Moreover, when Kaname checks his account balance at the ATM, he is overwhelmed by yet another surprise. The points he has collected are not just a score in the game, but are transferred directly to his bank account as real money. He gets a notification about a treasure hunt nearby and is fed up with it. Meanwhile, we see a cage match going about and the man in the robe gets pummeled with the girl wearing the fox mask. The man asks if he was the one who killed the dozen men in Shibuya or not. He says that she is ruthless to kill so many people with ease. Back to Kaname, who is waiting for Shuka. She arrives and they pretend to go on a date. Kaname asks about Darwin's game, but Shuka tells her that they should refer to it as the game cause if you talk too much about it, you will die. He asks her about the event and that she should help him. Shuka tells him that's why she is doing by telling him on a pretend date since the event will be in Shibuya Park. They roam around and talk about the event. Shuka takes him shopping and tries on multiple dresses for him. Meanwhile, we see the girl who is known as the analyst. She is talking to another player and gives him info about Kaname. The man says that he is glad he got the info about Kaname and now can easily target him. Shortly after, Kaname's mobile phone is suddenly snatched away by Anicap, who is thus able to lure him into a dead-end street and challenge him to a fight. Anicap was able to track Kaname down through the information he bought from the player Rain Kashiwagi, known as the Analyst. Rain makes her living in the game by collecting and selling interesting data and information. Since word had already spread that newcomer Kaname had defeated both the new killer Bandicun and the invincible Queen Shuka, he presented an interesting target for Anicap. Anicap starts to attack Kaname with a barrage of punches and makes sure not to use his sigil since he is a newbie. Kaname gets hit and fall down. Meanwhile, Shuka comes out of the dressing room and looks for Kaname, but he is nowhere to be found. She gets a call from the analyst, who also gives her information about Anther player known as Flame Demon. She even tells him about the new Baka Kaname and rushes to his aid. Kaname on the other hand distracts Anicap and tases him and gets his phone. Shuka appears, which prompts him to surrender. He asks Kaname about his alliance with Shuka, but suddenly they get a notification that the treasure hunt has begun and the players are teleported to separate locations. Kaname finds himself in a hotel room and receives information about the treasure hunt. The goal of the 300 participants is to find at least 3 golden rings within 24 hours. However, there's a catch: there are only 300 rings in total, so only 100 players will be able to win the hunt. Meanwhile, we see the Flame Demon is apprehended by another player who thinks that she should eliminate a dangerous player from the get-go. She activates her sigil and creates flames around him, but just then she is flung over the roof and falls on the pavement, resulting in her game over. People see the pixelated graphite on the pavement of the girl who just died, but due to a telephonic signal they mind their own business. Shuka knows that the game does not want others to poke around. Meanwhile, Kaname looks at the treasure hunt tutorial and how to find rings. Kaname uses the dimensional camera on his phone and immediately finds his first ring under the bed. He looks that if he finds the other items as well, they are worth a lot. He sees through the camera and learns that other players have also found rings and one is approaching him. He heads to hide, but he isn't able to defend himself as the player has a machine gun. He tries to run but is cornered and all the exits are covered in trees. He gives up and hands over his ring to the opponent, who spares Kaname's life and leaves through the elevator. Kaname sees the elevator as his only way of exiting the building, but Rain, the analyst, appears at the last moment and stops him from stepping into it. As the lift doors open, Kaname sees the reason for Rain's warning. His previous attacker with the machine gun is lying on the ground, in the clutches of a massive plant. Rain immediately recognizes the work of the powerful player, the florist, who has trapped the entire hotel in plants. Meanwhile, the game is being broadcasted and people seem to be placing their bets. They explain how Shuka is in the lead with 6 rings and Flame Demon is close behind with 5 rings. He also points out how the Shibuya building is covered in plants and it's the work of the florist. The same fox mask lady is there as well, along with the manager of Trinity known as Themis, who asks if they are making a profit in their bets or not. The scene shifts back to Shuka, who defeats players left and right. Event Themis applauds her being such a great player. On the other hand, Kaname and Rain search for a way out of the hotel and discuss how they can team up. Rain tells her that she knows all about him and what his sigil does, which leaves Kaname shocked. They discuss more about Kaname, that he has a kind heart and never wants to kill anyone. Kaname explains that he is not strong since he was not able to save his Kyota. They decided to find a way out, but before they leave, Kaname copies the machine gun since his sigil lets him copy and create anything. As they move around, they see another pixelated body, and just then a chilling thought occurs to them. Why was the body of the attacker in the elevator still there and not turned into a pixel outline? He asks Rain why it was not pixelated, but she has no answer for him. Just as the two realize the situation and an answer to their question, a crowd of zombie-like players attacks them. These players seem not to have been killed by the plants, but rather poisoned and are now under the control of the florist, who has made the entire tower his playground. Kaname, on the other hand, shots all the cameras since he knows the florist is watching them. Rain, while running, thinks about how she first got her sigil and how she was able to perceive the future with her information. She analyzes the tricky situation while Kaname destroys all the cameras. With the help of her sigil called Lapis, she is able to analyze all information of the universe, seeing past and future clearly before her eyes. She concludes that the florist must be in the surveillance room. The florist, on the other hand, applauds their efforts, while watching them through the surveillance cameras as he unleashes his mind-controlled soldiers on them. Therefore, Kaname and Rain destroy the surveillance cameras and hide in a hotel room to make a plan. Meanwhile, the florist easily deducts that the order in which Kaname destroyed the camera leaves him one room to hide in order to be safe from the zombified plant players. He smiles and sends his zombies over to the room, but no one is there. He learns that Rain is near the exit trying to blow up the plants that block the stairs. Rain and Kaname had planned to buy items from the shop and divide the zombies as they both made a run for it. The florist notices that she is not getting hit by the bullets being fired at her, but in fact Rain was using her sigil Lapis to dodge the bullets with ease. The florist becomes more agitated, thinking that the girl is meddlesome and that now he is more concerned about the boy since the girl is alone and he is nowhere to be found. Just then an explosion occurs which shocks the florist. He learns that Kaname is on the ground floor. To avoid the plants inside the building, Kaname had rappelled down the tower. He creates another grenade but is exhausted from using his sigil again and again. Just then the florist appears and reveals his face and asks to talk before they begin their battle. The florist, who is ready to fight Kaname, and transforms into a powerful plant creature. Kaname tries everything in his power to defeat the florist and uses his grenades, but it's no use since the roots are too strong to break. He shoots him with his machine gun, but he breaks that as well. Kaname uses his sigil to create another gun but is now even more exhausted. He lures him in and throws a grenade which misses him, but this is what Kaname wanted, and up close he blinds him with a stun grenade. Kaname rushes out and tries to run away. The florist seems to be too strong and the fight between the two reaches the hotel chapel. Kaname is exhausted, but his inner voice speaks to him again and he suddenly finds himself in the workshop of a steel smith. This vision makes him realize that he needs more penetrating power against the florist, and he manipulates the pressure of his gun barrel to deliver a stronger blow. This proves to be extremely effective and the florist concedes defeat. When Rain reaches the chapel, she explains that great danger is imminent since this was only the first round and now the second phase will begin, but they have exhausted themselves already since the 8th clan and their bloodthirsty leader Wang are about to storm the hotel to collect the 24 rings located there. Because of this, they decide to form a temporary clan with the florist, whose name is Hiragi Akiro, to fight the 8th clan since they are exhausted and don't want to lose. Shuka makes her way to hotel to find Kaname and kills of some snipers on the way. Kaname has a dream about Hamada and Kyota and thinks how they died, but both of them tell him that he can do what they could not. Kanema wakes up and takes Rain to meet the other. Now that the florist's mind control had been lifted, Kaname's former opponent with the machine gun also comes back to his senses. The machine gun Vi does not want to do anything with them as he is pissed at the old man for mind controlling him. He leaves, but as soon as he hears about Wang of the 8th clan, he rushes back. He yells that he has a bone to pick with the bastard and will join their clan. He introduces himself as Ryuji Miyasaka. The now 4 clan members set about barricading the hotel to be as prepared as possible for the 8th's attack. The 8th clan on the other hand have over 32 rings and want to get more for the money. They know that the tower has over 20 rings and will attack there. Wang laughs and he loves this game and thinks that this game was built for him. Kaname and the others take a look at the machine gun who resembles Kyoto a lot. They decide since they have 15 rings here they will divide it up later and provide Hiragi with more than half since he is doing the heavy lifting. Rain on the other hand puzzles over the values of the various gemstones on the rings. She notices the gems are not what people are going after and that gems are not ordered correctly at all. She realizes that this must be the key to winning the game and the missing piece since they have to clear the game, but having 3 rings each does not mean that they have cleared it. Meanwhile, Shuka is still searching for Kaname. She swings through the city, killing everyone who gets in her way. But then she gets caught in an ambush she can't escape. As she passes through an underground station, she is suddenly attacked by a little girl who is able to fend off her chain attacks with a wall of ice. The girl known as Sui traps Shuka's chains in the ice, which shocks Shuka since she did not know that such a sigil exists. Sui then decides to end it and eventually fills the hall with water. Shortly before drowning, Shuka sends out a call for help. Kaname and Ryuji immediately set off to rescue Shuka. On their way they discuss about their sigils and Ryuji tells him that his own sigil is trash since it can only detect lies. Rain oversees them from the top of the tower. There Rain notices some strange QR codes on top of the rings and thinks that they need to assess this situation well since they do not know how to clear that game yet. As Kaname and Ryuji head over, they meet Sui at the subway station, who pretends to be an innocent and scared little girl. Even Ryuji says that she is innocent since his sigil says that she is not lying. They see that the subway is filled with water and Sui even tries to stop them, but Kaname immediately plunges into the water and dives for Shuka. Meanwhile, Ryuji tries to ask Sui what she knows, but she freezes his gun and runs away. Kaname on the other hand tries to find Shuka who is drowning. Ryuji faces off against Sui. But it seems that Sui had dual personalities as they had trapped him using bottled water in the convenience store. He is about to strike Ryuji, but Sui takes over her brother's body and tries to stop him. She does not agree to violence and wants him to stop, but her brother's personality wants to strike him down and get Shuka's rings. Kaname dives in and sees that there is an ice wall. He uses his gun to shoot through. He yells her name and sees that she is unconscious underwater. He brings her to the surface and revives her with mouth-to-mouth using CPR. As Shuka regains her consciousness, she is delighted about her first kiss she just shared with Kaname and kisses him again. Kaname tells her that they will go back to base and meet with the others and tells her that they have more allies now as well. This makes Shuka feel jealous and she asks how this happened. She laughs and thinks that their idea for clan is becoming a reality. She also tells him that the reason for her to join Darwin's game is that she wants revenge against a man who killed her parents and want rest until the man is dead. Even Kaname says that he wants to find the game's creator and put a bullet in his head. He then creates Shuka's chain and hands them to her. The 8 clan meanwhile torture people using grenades while Wang assesses the rings again. He thinks there is more to the treasure hunt. Just then round 2 starts and Wang has called reinforcements. He decides to destroy the hotel in order to get the rings. Meanwhile, Ryuji is still busy with Sui. When Shuka and Kaname finally arrive at the convenience store as well, Shuka confronts Sui as well and finds her cute, and since she was the reason behind Kaname and her kiss she likes her. She tells them about Soda, her twin brother's personality as well. They recruit Sui for their clan. Just then they notice that the 8th have started their assault. Kaname receives a notification and tells Shuka to ditch her rings since they won't be needing them anymore. Back at the hotel, Rain and Hiragi also thinks that it is a bold decision and that they will have to do whatever it takes to battle against the number of the 8th clan. Hiragi tells Rain that he cannot abandon the rings since he needs the money for her daughter. Rain convinces her that it's better to fight than offer up your life for money. Shortly after, the 8th storm the hotel. Wang has even called in other clan members, who are not participating in the treasure hunt. The clan fights their way through the plant barricades, pushing further and further into the hotel with brute force. One of the powerful players of the 8th goes up the elevator and clears the plant traps, but using his sigil to burn through them. The powerful players Katsura and Sig take on Hiragi, but the florist holds his own in the fight. He clears the riff-raff downstairs and heads up to fight Sig, who has the flame sigil and is his natural enemy. Rain, meanwhile, has solved the riddle about the numerical codes in the rings. After getting her hands on a diamond ring and sorting the stones according to their hardness, she recognizes the coordinates leading her to the Shibuya train station. Rain had previously told Hiragi about the 8th clan users who have powerful sigils. Katsuri, who could punch via air, and Sig, who has flame sigil. Hiragi still decided to stay so that he could get all the rings. Rain reaches the station and sets off there to look for the treasure, but quickly realizes that she's not the first. Wang also seems to have cracked the code, and the 8th clan is already at the station. She is amazed that Wang is this smart. Meanwhile, some players also want to attack the hotel to get the diamond ring, but just then they are ambushed by the boxing club. Back at the hotel, Hiragi faces off against Sig and uses his plants as barricade, but Sig's flames are too hot. Just then Keiichi appears behind Hiragi and injures him. Sig uses this moment and pierces Hiragi's chest. Hiragi uses his plants to set off bombs and makes his escape and hides. He thinks that Rain was right and that he should have set the rings as bait. Just then Sig and Keiichi arrive laughing at him. With the very last of his strength, Hiragi keeps his heart beating by his sigil plants, and the powerful plants that are piercing the entire building finally cause it to shake and collapse. Higari laughs and says that his plants can move buildings. The building collapses, Hiragi dies and sees his daughter in his dream for one last time. At the station, Rain hides and overhears that Wang does not know the true location as well since he does not have the diamond ring. Rain tries to slip past, but one of the clan members spots her and the chase begins. She escapes them using her Laplace and thinks that she can easily run as long as Wang is not around. She continues to dodge everyone, but just then Wang uses his sigil to teleport in a way that Riani's Laplace cannot anticipate, and manages to capture Riani. Through a brutal grip on her arm, he tries to extract information about the treasure from her. She tries to stall for time with a long story by making up weird stories about snakes, bugs and venom, and sure enough, her clan finally shows up and frees Riani from Wang's clutches using Shuka's chain and a flashbang. Ryuji, Shuka, and Sui bravely fight the 8 and Kaname takes the injured Riani to a safe place. Shuka kills players one by one and Sui uses his ice to stop the other 8 members. Wang interferes and tries to stop them, but Ryuji butts in. Kaname and Rain hide and they try to figure out the final code to end the game while Ryuji distracts Wang. He keeps Wang away so that he cannot teleport, but Wang uses his men to create a distraction and swiftly tears of Ryuji's arm. Meanwhile, Rain, who self-reflects and thinks about what to use for the solution. She makes countless calculations and thinks about what the code would be. The code represents the publication date of Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species. When Kaname returns to help his friends fight the 8th, Wang has already cut off Ryuji's arm and is now about to kill him. But Kaname is able to stop him with a ruse. He claims to have solved the riddle and found the key to the treasure. Ryuji couldn't help but shake his head, believing that Kaname's trust in Wang was rather naive. He had a gut feeling that Wang wouldn't let them off the hook so easily. In his mind, Ryuji had already envisioned a scenario where he'd have to take Wang down when he was vulnerable, unable to teleport. However, to his surprise, Wang seemed to be falling into the trap, agreeing with Kaname's plan. Still, Wang had a condition. Ryuji had to be eliminated since he was in the midst of an execution. Kaname coldly accepted and admitted he had merely been using Wang, leaving Ryuji in shock while Wang chuckled. As a sign of trust, Kaname tossed the key to Wang, allowing him to move away from Ryuji. But Kaname had outsmarted them all. He swiftly entered the combination of numbers into the station's lockers, abruptly ending the treasure hunt and transferring the players. This infuriated Wang, who had missed out on the treasure. The onlookers were stunned, although the woman in the fox mask had placed her bet on Kaname all along. Alone at the station, Kaname opened the locker and discovered a mobile phone inside. It rang, and the game master congratulated him on his victory. Along with the numerous points he'd earned, Kaname was offered a special prize, the choice of an in-game privilege. The game master explained that he could select anything, similar to the privileges given to other players, such as starting a gambling ring or a point-based MMA fighting ring. However, Kaname declined any rewards and expressed his desire to exit the game. The game master informed him that the only way to end Darwin's game was to either finish the game or eliminate the game master himself. Kaname chose to inquire about his privilege and asked the game master to reveal the secrets of the sigil. Days passed, and the world believed the treasure hunt for Darwin's game was a terrorist attack. Meanwhile, Sui and Shuka relaxed in a bathhouse and discussed various matters. The scene shifted to a hospital, where someone approached Hiragi's daughter and explained that she would receive insurance money in the event of her father's death, a conversation that left her heartbroken. Suzuna hesitated but eventually ran outside and collided with Rain. Rain spoke to her, suggesting she accept the check. In the following days, Kaname's clan gathered at the Danjo Boxing Club. Keed had successfully healed Ryuji, and Kaname was undergoing training from the coaches. Master Danjo expressed his desire to form an alliance with Kaname's clan, which had named themselves the Sunset Ravens due to their smaller number of players and their wish to collaborate. In the midst of it all, Danjo presents a challenge to Kaname. He must demonstrate his mettle by besting him in combat. Danjo posits that people would eagerly pay to witness this showdown, emphasizing that a regular audience simply won't suffice due to his considerable popularity. The impending clash between Danjo and Kaname unfolds, overseen by Anicap as the referee, while Rain and Ryuji watch attentively from the spectator stands. The match commences, with Danjo swiftly dismantling a newly forged gun in Kaname's hands, all while lauding Kaname's lightning-quick reflexes. Kaname, undeterred, responds by crafting a series of grenades, adeptly evading several of Danjo's offensive maneuvers. He then ingeniously employs a makeshift barrier to deflect further onslaughts. Kaname counters with his firearm, but Danjo retaliates by hurling a massive boulder in his direction, leaving Kaname ensnared. Nevertheless, Kaname ingeniously lures Danjo closer and triggers a blinding flashbang, prompting Danjo to activate his unique sigil, transforming his body into a resilient iron-like form. Over time, Danjo acknowledges Kaname's undeniable merit and extends an offer of alliance to both him and the Sunset Ravens. Suddenly, an enigmatic figure shrouded in a mask makes a dramatic entrance, profoundly impressed by Kaname's remarkable accomplishments. This mysterious individual unveils her identity as Liu Shulan, ranking first among the D-Game's participants, and she proudly traces her lineage back to a long line of skilled assassins. Elsewhere, Shuka catches wind of Kaname's abduction and immediately inquires about the situation. She soon discovers that Liu has spirited him away. Meanwhile, during their journey in the car, Liu engages Kaname in conversation. She astutely recognizes his latent potential and sees him as the ideal partner to propagate their skills to future generations. In her view, Kaname's remarkable adaptability aptly suits him for the rigors of warfare, likening him to a master orchestrator in the theater of battle. In an intimate moment, she discusses how their chosen path promises a brighter future for generations to come. However, a sudden interruption emerges when Liu's devoted butler urgently reports their pursuit by unknown adversaries. Shuka, along with Rain, Ryuji, and Sui, embarks on a determined chase after Liu's vehicle. In an unexpected twist, Liu reaches out to Shuka, urging her to reconsider the pursuit. Kaname, ever resourceful, proposes a novel challenge. If Liu can successfully elude the Sunset Ravens without resorting to lethal means, he pledges his allegiance to her as a loyal subordinate. The confrontation unfolds as Shuka initiates an audacious attack from atop the car's roof, igniting an intense rooftop skirmish. With Liu bound by her promise not to inflict harm, the battle poses a unique challenge. Shuka capitalizes on this constraint, expertly evading Liu's measured assaults. As Liu valiantly contends with her foes, the odds seem stacked against Shuka. Yet salvation arrives in the form of Kaname, who intervenes by lobbing bottles in Shuka's direction. Shuka deftly harnesses her chains to guide the projectiles toward the tires of Liu's vehicle, and with Sui's assistance, they promptly freeze the contents in place, effectively immobilizing the car. While Liu asserts that they have not been definitively defeated, her loyal butler concedes, noting their inability to continue the pursuit. In the end, Liu acknowledges her defeat and expresses a fervent desire to join the ranks of the Sunset Ravens clan. Despite initial reservations from the clan members, Kaname consents to the proposition, albeit cautioning Liu that if she ever harbors intentions of betrayal, she should commence with him, reserving his forgiveness, yet firmly warning that any harm inflicted on others would remain unforgivable. Rain meets her friend Katori, who explains that the 8th clan has been acting up and plotting revenge since their last encounter with Kaname. She tells her that their number are few since the Shibuya Hotel incident. Rain knows that Higari was the one who made this all possible and learns that maybe Sig actually did die in the collapse. Rain leaves, but Katori wants her to make a way for her to get in the Sunset Ravens as well. Rain leaves and thinks that attacking the 8th would be better now as they are weak. Meanwhile, the 8th clan had already plotted their new revenge. They held Kaname's schoolmate, Shinuzuka, captive and torture him in order to lure Kaname to an old warehouse. They even cut off his fingers, which makes Kaname pissed as hell. He is furious and wants to hurt Wang. Rain arrives and tells them that she has the information and now they need execute the mission. Kaname is furious and immediately sets out to free his friend, supported by the Sunset Ravens and Inukai. Meanwhile, Shinazuki is on the ground bleeding while Wang waits. Before the clan arrives at the warehouses, a large police contingent is already there, but the 8th slaughter the entire task force without much effort. Keikai blows the head of the officers while Wang tells them they need head to the next HQ. Wang kills of a few officers as well. Shuka drops her phone towards Shinazuka and he is glad to hear Kaname, who tells him that he needs to click on Darwin's game so that he can be saved. So he does that and instantly Shinazuka gets bitten by the same snake. He gets a powerful sigil and can control area around him. He sends the 8th members flying. When the Sunset Ravens arrive, they immediately set about fighting the 8th. Sui and Rain join forces against the attackers, and Inukai fights the martial artist Keiichi. Inaki fights Kichai, who knows that Kichai is a worthy opponent. Inaki reveals Sigil, which allows him to move very fast. Meanwhile, Rain and Sui work together and Sui uses her powers and grabs them using the sea water, and Sota freezes them with. Kaname and Ryaji enter the warehouse. Kaname asks about his friend, but Wang says that he wanted to have him fall in despair. Wang says that Kaname is right next to him in the bloodied box. Wang laughs in despair, saying that innocent people like him do not need such privileges. When Kaname learns that Shinazuka has been killed, something changes in him. Now with Hamada, Kyoto, and Shinazuka, 3 of his classmates have been killed in this game. Breaking his own supreme principles of not unnecessarily hurting anyone, he decides there is no other option but to kill the 8th. He shoots one of the 8's members as he is pissed as well. As Kaname is pissed, he easily shoots one of the members. He calls Rain and tells her that he was not able to save Shinjuku since he was late in making the right decision. But Rain tells him that this is not his mistake since he did not know what would happen. He then makes his way and shoots another member, saying that at first he was going to be more merciful, but now since his friend is dead he has rethought about this decision. Kaname remembers all the people he fought and how not every one of them was a murderer except a few, but Darwin's game made them into killers. Ryuji asks Kaname if he has thought of this clearly and if he can really do it. Kaname says that he was wrong before and now everything is clear. Saying this, he initiates a clan battle with Wang, but instantly all of his men are dead as Kaname does not want to waste a second. Wang is pissed and teleports himself to Kaname, but he already anticipated that, and just then Shuka sticks one of her chains in his shoulder. Kaname asks Shuka to take care of the rest. Shuka grabs Wang and they start off. They continue their fight on the roof while Inukai fights Keiichi using his speed and makes a mirage, but Kichai's punches get rid of them. More of Clan 8 members arrive with guns and think that they can win this since they have more numbers. Ryuji tells Kaname to hide since he does not have a bulletproof vest, but Kaname easily runs and kills the guys in front of him. Even Ryuji is amazed to see that Kaname is easily able to defeat so many of them and says that he has gone nuts. One of the 8 members think that Kaname easily took out 10 men, and before he would never kill anyone. He tries to run, but Ryuji kills him as well. Kaname says that killing Wang is their final objective. Wang enters the warehouse and calls Shuka in trying to trick her. He calls her names and even says that she is not the undefeated queen since she was defeated by Kaname. She tells him that Kaname is special since Kaname is the love of her life, and him defeating her when he was rookie shows how much talented he is. Wang laughs and runs towards her while Shuka throws her chains at him. Wang easily breaks them and calls her sigil weak, but Shuka smirks and just then Wang falls down. He sees that Shuka somehow cut his foot off. Wang screams in agony. Wang lays down on the floor and stops his bleeding. He thinks that his sigil known as Beelzebub. He teleports near Shuka and thinks that he can strike her from above, but as he is about to claw her down, his hand is cut off as well, making him feel even more pain. Wang can't contemplate that how she was able to do all this even though she was far away. Shuka laughs and says that if she wants she can slice off the rest of his limbs as well. She shows him that she had strung up the entire place with wires beforehand, and that her sigil known as the Queen of Thorns is able to help control any chain or string and even can make them vibrate. Just then Shuka strings him up like a doll. Wang does not know what to do and says that he must escape. He thinks that the warehouse must have wires as well and he cannot just teleport anywhere. As a last resort, he uses his sigil's power to exchange hers in Shuka's place. He thinks that he has won, but Shuka laughs as one more limb of Wang falls off. She tells him that she anticipated this. Wang thinks that she is cheating and even yells at the creators as well. Wang tries to run away and crawls away. Just as Shuka tries to kill him off, in last chance of escape, Wang teleports to the sky and is about to fall but uses the last of his strength to save himself from being impaled. He feels as if he was safe on the ground. Kaname and Ryuji are already standing in front of him pointing their weapons. Wang is scared as hell and says that he surrenders, making Sunset Ravens win. But Kaname is not done yet, and even after receiving the points he says that this money is not enough, and that he had taken too much from him and this petty cash does not cut it. Kaname reveals his granted privilege to Wang. He is a high roller who went all in the fight against the 8th clan. This now means that all of 8th clan's points are transferred to the Sunset Ravens account, and the opponents have thus lost the game. Anicap also notices that Kiichi is being taken away since his team lost. Shuka reaches Kaname and sees him standing over Wang. As they lost, Wang is being transported bit by bit. He cries out for help since he had never tasted defeat. He says that he was supposed to be king and thinks about his clan and how he wanted to impress them all. He remembers Rain's lecture about the Venom King and how all others are bugs. He then sees Kaname as the Venom King and tells him to be prepared since bugs like him will keep dropping. As Wang's head is only left and he laughs like crazy, Kaname shoots him the head and in his eyes is a last farewell. Even though they won, Kaname thinks that he still lost his friend. Ryuji says that they did defeat their enemy. Kaname tells them that killing anyone is just plain wrong and that he has decided that he will end Darwin's game by making sure that he kills the Game Master. The battle against the 8th is now over, but Kaname swears revenge on the Game Masters. He wants to end this game once and for all, and his clan agrees to support him in this endeavor. They all agree and say that this clan is a family and they will do everything they can. On the other side, the Game Master is quite happy with what's happening. He calls Aburo, who also heard about Kaname, and tells him not to get involved. The Game Master says that the game is changing by itself and that Kaname was born to challenge Wang. This excites Aburo, and he wants to meet Kaname, but the Game Master says the game is about to go to the next level, and Aburo has an important role to play in it. Meanwhile, the Sunset Ravens are making sure things stay peaceful in the game. They stop people from creating their own groups and prevent fights where people could get hurt. Shuka tries to stop people too, but she goes to extremes by hurting them. Kaname talks to someone and says they need to let everyone know that the Sunset Ravens now control the D game in Shibuya, and the man is confused. On another note, Katori reads comments about how strong Kaname has become and how he's making new rules in the game. Together, the now bloodthirsty Sunset Ravens take over the Shibuya area and declare it a D-game free zone, making sure they beat the game once and for all.